Good morning, world. It's a new day. A new day. If you're here, you woke up alive with me. Woke up alive again. What are you going to do with it? Hopefully something good. Where to start? There's no rehearsing, no practicing when it comes to doing this shit on this channel, right? It's funny. I'm going to share a little bit here, and it may eventually include all of you. Maybe it'll include a lot of you anyway. But you know, I think in the past I've mentioned what's gone down in my lifetime and some of the dark sons of bitches that came into my life, and I had no control over that, and the effect that it had on me and others was pretty grim. And it's amazing as I go through life and I see the characteristic of the dark people who will intentionally tear down, beat down, and basically suck the life out of innocent people and win. Bothers me. And it also bothers me when people quit. It really bothers me. I swear to God, I spent so much of my lifetime motivating people to not quit. Don't quit. You're your worst enemy. You're your only enemy. Don't quit. Quit's a 4-letter word. Don't quit. Anyway. Open up an email this morning and it's got my wheels turning. I'm frustrated because I'm not sure what to do. When somebody's been attacked and beat down for some dark people, it's not their fault. You know, good people that get beat down, get the life sucked out of them, it's not their fault. But I wish that good people would understand that other good people are here to help. When your family member What I call a family member is a good person from here or anywhere on the planet gets beat down to their knees. Well, that's where the strength and the energy of the good people around you comes into play. That's what we do. That's why we're here, to help each other, right? Encourage each other. You get beat down? Just take the assistance. Just take the help. You know? I've been motivating people all my life, my professional life. I've had so many people in my life that say they can't, especially when it came to guiding. I swear to God, guiding in the mountains is basically being a Tony Robbins Northern chapter, motivational speeches daily by the hour. It's almost like I had a whole regime of motivational words, and I'd save my best ones for later on in the hunt when people were always wanting to give up. I can't climb up there. I can't go here anymore. I'm too tired. I can't. Yes, you can. And I always tell people, you do not, time flies. Time flies so fast. You do not want to be back at home in that lazy boy remembering this moment with me and wishing you had gone up that hill. But now it's too late. You quit. You didn't get to go up that hill. And the pot of gold was just sitting right there, and all you had to do was listen to my words of encouragement and go up that hill, and the pot of gold was going to be in your lap, the reward, and you earned it. Anyway, I'm babbling. Some dark MFers, who we are all familiar with their names through this topic, have almost successfully sucked the life out of an innocent human being who was absolutely motivated by excitement of discovery of something new and excited to share that discovery with all of the world, the honest truth and the community. A handful of these dark sons of bitches went at this person and basically destroyed her. Facilitated the destruction of somebody's life and passions. Ruthlessly. Now, you're going to see what comes today. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a heads up. Very shortly, I'm going to hope that we all come together in a big, massive, rapid wave. We're going to assist this person. If we can get this person to accept the assistance from the good people. And we're going to do it. We're going to turn it all around. All right? That's my little heads up rant. I guess sometimes I make sense, sometimes I don't. It's a fresh email that opened up minutes ago. The wheels are turning. I'm experiencing extreme frustration right now, anger as well, which I'd like to think I control pretty well, because if I did act out on my anger, it'd be pretty dark pretty quick. It wouldn't be too good. But anyway, there's the heads up. Soon, hopefully, very, very soon, I'm going to beg and plead for all of us to come together here and help somebody. All right? And it will benefit the world, as far as I'm concerned. All right? But first we have to, maybe might take a phone call or something. I don't know. I'll figure it out after I get through this. And I got some other items I got to get through. And I'm going to pursue this a little farther. And hopefully I can get it to the next step, which would be the good from all of us being focused at one place, and we unleash it. We unleash our good. All right? Get ready. Be on alert. I guess that's what I'm saying. Be on alert. Be ready to go. All right? Someone very dear to us, close to us, important to us, is possibly going to need us, does need us, but needs to be motivated to accept all of us, our kindness and generosity. All right? Now, who knows if I made sense? I never listen to myself. I never go back and listen to my videos ever, just to see if I have made sense or not. Hopefully I do. Just be ready. I need an army soon. All right? I really, really need our army very soon. Hopefully. And we're going to change a lot. Listen to this. This is titled, Another Add-on to the Coyote Connection. More voices being heard. Hello, Stephen Sarah. Hope this email finds you well. I've followed your channel almost from the beginning of you covering our favorite topic, the Sabe. I say that with a little sarcasm since I know people's lives have been changed forever. I'm writing this because I was finally compelled by a recent email about the connection between coyotes and the forest people. I don't claim to be an expert, but this is a common theme. I can only pass on what happened on one of my camping trips. I have a long history with these forest people, dating back over 30 years, and may have seen a dogman or at least a very large wolf where there should not have been one. I moved to the mountains in North Carolina a few years ago, not far from where I had a daytime sighting of the complete backside of a very large Sabe years earlier. Anyway, being a lifelong outdoorsman, I love to hike and camp. I live very close to a large NF and have camped in this one area many times. I learned from you that after I thank God for giving me another day in this creation, that I tell the forest people that I don't want anything to do with them. I'm not here for them and do not scare me. I mean they're no harm. This has worked very well, but every time I've camped in this area, something has or multiple somethings have happened. On one trip, I heard a lone coyote start to howl. I paid close attention and noticed almost immediately something was off. It sounded like no yote I'd ever heard. Deeper at times and just kind of off. When a pack joined in and serenaded me, I just thought, cool. Smiled to myself and knew what got the singing started. Why do I think that? Have you ever heard a 500-pound bullfrog that sounds not quite right? Owl hoots that when other owls chime in, you know we're just a little off. I could go on. Every time I've camped there, something has happened. Two-legged, soft steps through camp. Lights moving through the forest around camp. Samurai chatter, distant howls, and so on. Up until recently, I'd never been scared by these happenings. My second to last trip, I forgot to say my little mantra and had pebbles and pine cones thrown at me before the loudest wood knock got my attention enough to where I apologized. My thank you came much softer and further away. My last camp, I got the shit scared out of me. I had camp set up, ate dinner, and watched some football before turning in for the night in my hammock. I was on a ridge, very steep on either side and maybe 15 feet wide. I had a coffee with dinner, so I was awake, but tired after the hard hike. After maybe 45 minutes passed, I heard an extremely heavy crunching footstep/stumble, followed by 3 more in bipedal fashion within 25 feet of me. I thought my heart would jump out of my chest. These awkward stomps came from my left on an extremely steep slope. My first thoughts were that this is not 4-legged, and how the hell did it get so close without me hearing it? Was it there the whole time? Did it stumble coming down a tree? I did not look. Why, you ask? I have zero desire to see one up close. I knew it wasn't a bear, and I never heard it move again. Anyway, I finally calmed down after saying in my head, I'm armed, I'm not here for you, don't scare me. Maybe 100 times. Needless to say, I was on high alert the rest of the night. Later on, I heard very light steps coming down the trail into camp. This doesn't scare me. The only other thing happened is whatever came down the trail played with my lantern, messing with the light shine. In retrospective, I think a young one screwed up and stumbled a bit. Me being somewhat empathic, we may have amplified each other's fear and panicked each other. Plus, LMAO. I'm sure they have something of a sense of humor, and others probably gave Junior a hard time about it. Anyways, I hope this helps someone. I was leery about going back to this area alone, but I've been wanting some new territory anyways. You may use my name, but I will only give location to you. Sincerely, Jimmy Dunlap. P.S. If you want more, just ask. All right, man, I don't need the location. We'll respect you on that. And here's another member of the Club of No Return with a huge set. Not too many people who keep on camping, especially by themselves, knowing that's going on around them. They know you know, so it's probably not going to stop. Let's be thankful nothing bad's happening, right? Hammock. Hammocks give me the creeps. Well, they don't really give me the creeps. All right. Got my go juice, so I can really become annoying. Quick note reminded me when I looked in the sink in the house. Before this past few days, Sarah couldn't even cut a fish. And next thing you know, she went through the hassle of putting all of the chicken livers and the hearts aside. And you gotta cut the feet off. She saved all the feet. And after all this hell in the shop here, processing, she pureed the chicken livers, poured them on wax paper on cookie sheets, dried them out in the oven, busted them up for dog treats. Same with the hearts. And then she took the feet, cleaned them all off, washed them, and then put some kind of cooking oil on them or something and put them in the oven, and then rendered those down, dried them all out for dog treats. Made a whole pile of them. How cool is that? Anyway, sorry for that. It was just in my face when I went in the kitchen to get my coffee. Now, who's next? I got some photographs of something in somebody's yard. All right, here we go. Good morning, Steve. My name is Deborah, and you can use my name. I'm a 61-year-old woman living with my sons on a large, heavily wooded parcel of land in North Texas near the Red River that connects Texas to Oklahoma. Right in the zone. I have 2 little chickens near the house, separated by the larger coop because these 2 hens picked on it. Get picked on. So I wake up every morning and at daylight. I open the blinds on my upstairs window in my bedroom, and the first thing I see is this little chicken tractor that contains the little hens. Well, yesterday, November 2nd, I did the same routine. Open the blinds, drink my coffee, look out the window until I go out and do my little farm chores. This time was a big surprise. I could see a black creature bent over looking under the tarp that I have covering these 2 chickens. It's a short email, but I have had many other experiences that I will send when I have more time. I live in Texas, excuse me, and have seen 6 creatures on our property in the country. Lots of strange stories I could share with you at a later time. I'm attaching the photos. The first one is my original picture that I took through the blinds once I saw the creature, excuse me. Then I zoomed in on my camera. Then I took that one and I zoomed in a bit more. If anyone knows what the heck this is, I'd love to know. I've shown it to many people and I hear bear most of the time, but we don't have bear here. At least we aren't supposed to. But it does not look like a bear to me. There's something very strange about the head. Is this some kind of interdimensional being? I don't know. Please give me your thoughts. I'm sorry it's not more clear, but that was the best I could do before it ran away. I never saw it leave. Once I got downstairs and put my shoes on to run outside, it was gone. I can't tell you if it walked away or ran away on all fours. It was already gone when I got outside. I recreated the same picture today at the same time as usual, and the creature is not there. My sons went outside and tried to recreate it using me as the creature, lol. Like you say, make of it what you will, because I do not know what it was. Thanks, Steve, Deborah. All right, so I think you already answered my question with you didn't see it move, walk away. Those are hazy pictures. Does look like something bent over, right? Stooped over in that second picture to me, although it's a little hazy. Yeah, what do we got here? Looks thick. You definitely caught something, right? Oops, hold on a minute. There's the tarp. Oh, wow. So that thing's pretty big, right? I wonder how many feet off the ground the tarp is, because there's no, you didn't include any photos with any of you in the photo. This is fine. But there you go. Huh. Now, if that was a bear here at my house, it wouldn't just be looking in under the tarp of the chickens. It would be getting the chickens. And it wouldn't leave. It wouldn't leave until you chased it away. So, what are the chances of that being something that's similar to what everybody's reporting here? It's pretty high, isn't it? But anyway, when you get time, I'd absolutely appreciate it if you shared whatever knowledge you have from your first-hand experiences for certain. Please send them in when you get a chance, all right? And be safe. Be safe on your property. Be safe. But keep us posted for sure. Appreciate you, Deborah. Excuse me, here's another one. These are all fresh off the press, by the way. Meaning newer. My explanations for Sabe behavior. It's the title of this email. Hi, Steve. Been watching you for 4 years now. How the hell have I been doing this that long? Isn't that crazy? You may use my name. It's Dean Weiss. Wise or Weiss? You've read several of my emails before. Yeah, I thought your name was familiar. I describe myself as someone who knows as much about the Sabe as anyone can, having never seen them or experienced their presence. I know that you're a man who looks for patterns. I describe it in a slightly different way. I always say that when I hear 3 people from 3 different walks of life describe the same thing similarly, you should pay attention to that. And there's no question that this is what I hear on your channel, and that's why I'm always riveted. I've tried sending some of my conclusions all in one email, but it's just difficult to read. So, what I'm going to do from now on is send one item at a time when something that you have read reminds me of it. Here's my first one, the wood knocks. Here's what I believe is going on from listening to hundreds of stories, not just from you, but other places. I'm going to translate the wood knocks into English. 3 knocks. We have a human or other intruder in our area, and anyone who can hear this should probably advance here. 2 knocks. I've heard your alarm and I am working my way towards you. Now the 2 knocks will often be given several times so that the person who sent the 3 knock message hears where they are, their location, how close they are. 1 knock. I've reached your immediate vicinity. I'm ready to assist. And there it is. Then there is 1 knock by the message sender to acknowledge. I'm going to say flat out that I have no proof of this, except that this is the pattern that I put together from listening to hundreds of stories. All right, man. Appreciate the wheels turning, Dean. Keep them turning. You never know. I'm definitely not in the position to say yes or no, right? Not me. But one thing, if you're gonna get my wheels turning in the wood knock department, what it's all about, and if it's them communicating with each other, excuse me. All right. Well, what's up with the mind speak? You know what I mean? What's up with the mind speak? If it is them communicating with each other by that primitive form of communication, I guess you could probably call it. But meanwhile, these beings or whatever forced people, other beings, whatever you want to call them, whoever can do it, how do they just simply put words into our head? Right? And if they can do that to us, they should be able to just babble back and forth with each other. No problem at all. Which then would eliminate them giving up their presence by banging on a tree. Right? I've heard the wood knocks a lot of times. And then there's one of the most recent times was my hunting partner heard them loud and clear. Said it was so loud it was ridiculous, and I didn't hear nothing, and I was off in the direction where the knocks came from. What the hell's up with that? Right? So that right there makes it quite confusing for me. So anyway, appreciate you sending it in, Dean. Keep the wheels turning, my man. Don't stop trying to figure shit out. Because guess what people get that quit? They get nothing, right? Now, it's early enough. There's one yesterday I put aside. It was the length of a book. Here we go. I'm going for it now. This is titled Josh from Alaska and Live in Oregon Sabe. Long but insightful. Okay, Josh, here we go. Howdy, Steve. I'm a 44-year-old male from Alaska. I grew up in a rural part of Alaska between Palmer and Wasilla. I had several encounters in Alaska. I grew up hunting and fishing and picking berries. Looking back as a man, I could say now I had hundreds of experiences and a handful of sightings. The hardest part is wrapping my head around how many and what happened. I spent more time than most running around the deep woods. I talk about a few on the blank blank podcast, who I haven't a clue who that is. All right, my man? And there's a link to the podcast, and I'm not being rude. It's just that we have got a shit pile of haters and attackers here, and I do not promote them. I'm not saying they're a hater or attacker. I'm just saying I don't know who that is, so I'm not promoting them right at this stage of the game, all right? I recently moved to West Lynn, Oregon, Linn, Oregon, just south of Portland. My house backs up to a small park with half forest, and the rest is grass and a splash pad. Ever since we moved in, I had that all too familiar feeling of being watched. I figured it was just the past trauma of my previous childhood encounters with Sabe, so I tried to put it out of my mind. Later, I would encounter strange kids in the woods playing and climbing in the trees. They spoke a strange language. 3 I noticed altogether. They had black eyes, big heads, and long arms. They had a twinkle in their eyes. They had long peach fuzz all over their bodies. I often saw them climbing the trees and building forts along the trail as any kid would do. We have a splash pad in the park, so it's not unusual to see naked kids getting dirty and playing in the woods. They would often steal food from birthday parties in the park and dart into the woods. I saw one of them gouging a tree with a stick. He climbed up on a branch 10 feet up like a Spider-Man. All right, there's another one. A little confusing, but I kind of get the gist of it. But anyways, I gotta get going. Interesting morning this morning, wasn't it? Not your average morning here. But anyways, I'm gonna remind you guys about the beginning of the email, how hopefully shortly someone will accept our help. All right? Someone will accept our help, and I pray that they will. And be ready, because I'm going to call on every single one of you to throw down some assistance if you can. And there you go. Okay, I'll be back shortly. All right, guys? I'll be back shortly. I would hit a hammock on a beach. I'd probably hit a hammock in the yard here in the sun, but where I go and what's running around the forest, not a chance would I make myself into a human taco hanging in the trees here where I live. Not a chance. There's nothing. I'm just picturing, first off, let's just say a bull moose comes walking along and clotheslines you, or you clothesline it as a human taco with just 2 strings on either end. Good night. Right? Or an elk. In worst case scenario, a grizzly bear decides to see what's up with this wrapped up human taco right here in front of me. I wonder if I can make it spin. You know what I mean? There's nothing you can do. So that's the hammock in the woods for me is off limits here in British Columbia. I'm starting to babble. Got a lot to do today. We have a lot of road tripping to do today. We nearly did it. Poor Sarah was in so much, she's always in pain. She was in 2 different car accidents and it screwed her up for life. She gets a lot of pain in her neck. She can't really move her neck sometimes, and doing all those chickens took its toll on her big time yesterday. But she did great, and all we have left to do now is package and fine tune, as in just a little couple, rather 12 more chickens, done. And I gotta clean up this mess. And of course, me being the man of the farm who unfortunately always gets the Grim Reaper role. The girls, they treat all their laying hens like pets. And they hatched a handful of them a little while back. One of the teenagers got sick, and of course they bring it into the house. And it's in the little cat crate box downstairs by the young lady's bedroom. And the thing's crying all night long with every breath this morning and making weird squawks, can't walk, blah, blah, blah. So I get the job of dispatch handed my ass. So I start off my morning. It's kind of weird. I did the deed with all these meat chickens. No big deal. But then I got to take this laying hen who's treated as a pet, and that sucks. So that's how I start off my day, doing that. Anyway, I'm going to get my second coffee. I got to bring it out with me. I need one. And I'm going to be right back in a minute. My wife pointed out he had red swim shorts on backwards. He was really jamming that old growth tree. I said, "Hey son, don't jam on that tree." He looked at me and said some angry words in that strange language. I was pissed that this effed up rich kid was giving me lip. I saw that he had dark eyes with a sharp twinkle in them. This was no foreign rich boy. Keep reading, it gets better. Halloween was slamming salmon. Apparently I moved into the Halloween spot. Hundreds of kids trick-or-treating. I noticed one of those boys from the park had a pillowcase full of candy. He mumbled, "Trick or treat." He had two of the most authentic-looking Ewoks with him, except they had cone heads. These kids hit up every house in the neighborhood. On our way trick-or-treating with my daughters and wife, I stopped the Ewok kids and told them their costumes were fantastic. They didn't understand and gave a confused laugh and kept on trucking. Another dad said, "I don't see a zipper, LOL." I said, "What?" The dad didn't want to engage with me, so he looked at me and walked away like a rich bitch. Just then I felt like I was being watched. I heard twigs snapping, and I saw a flash of yellow eyes in the brush. As my daughter approached, the old lady that just gave those boys some candy gave me a knowing glance with shock and bewilderment in her eyes. She said those are the strangest kids she's ever met. I convinced myself I didn't see what I just saw because I only saw red-eyed Sabe before. Plus, it had been 30 years since I saw one. Why would baby Bigfoot be trick-or-treating? I put it in the back of my mind. Winter came and went. In the spring, my neighbor said that a gal in our neighborhood saw a transient lurking around in the park. He told me to keep an eye on the woods, so I did. A month later, I was at my desk looking out at the woods when I saw the transient. He's walking out of the bushes onto the trail. At first, he looked like he had a black tracksuit on with a hood. Then I saw his long arms and long fingers. His eyes were huge and black. It wasn't tracksuit, it was hair. He ran back and forth on the trail like a demon. My jaw dropped. I noticed he looked like those kids. I googled what a baby monkeys look like. What I found blew my mind. The hairline of the baby primates looked just like a human. No hair on the body except on the head, just like humans. It all clicked. Now with Sabe on my radar, I started noticing things more and more. In early summer, I kept hearing loud plops on the roof that had to be bigger than a raccoon. So when I heard it again, I opened the window and stuck my head out to get a look. What I saw was a 3-foot-tall, black, hairy child with big, round, black eyes. He was hiding in the cherry tree, hanging over my roof. His mouth was open, and I could see his little teeth as he looked at me in fear. And then I hear, stomp, stomp, stomp. I look over to see who was making the noise, and there she was, Mom, looking me dead in the eyes with a scowl on her face. I realized the young was just after my acorns in the oak hanging over the roof. I quelled the chills rolling down my spine and said, "Okay, good night," and shut the window. I decided to let nature take its course. The following morning, I went up to the fence line where I saw the female and tracked it through the park to a dead end at a blackberry patch. I figured she was out of the area for the time being. The patch was huge, and the berries ripe for the plucking. I ran back to the house and grabbed my daughter for a quick free lesson in berry picking, punch bowl in hand. My daughter, I get to work on that patch before the neighbors see it. As I stomp down the brambles and pick berries, I catch movement out of the corner of my eye. I see a giant black, hairy back obscured. Let me read that one more time. It's a tongue twister. I see a giant black, hairy back obscured by branches and leaves under a couple cedar trees. I hear twigs snap to my left, 3 feet away from me. I realized I was looking at a nest. I looked back to the spot with the hairy back. It moved out of sight. I knew I needed to leave the area. Just then, A gaggle of moms and kids walked past us in the main trail, so I took the opportunity to exit because I had to convince my daughter to leave the massive berry patch without freaking her out. Feeling like I stepped in it, I got some old Halloween candy and apples and made sure they saw my daughter as we planted candy all around their sleep area. Things went really smooth after that. I felt relatively safe in my backyard. I kept an ear out for when they moved. I trained my ear to pick up on Sabe in movement. When I played in the backyard with my daughter, I could hear the tiny footsteps of really little juveniles to see us play. One summer morning, I stepped out onto my parched lawn to drink my coffee. I could hear the whoops of a baby Sabe in the tree by my cat. It started chasing a squirrel around the tree canopy. He moved like a rocket. I moved closer with my phone out, hoping to get a photo. That pissed off Mom. She grunted to the baby and it zipped down to her. She stood up and stomped away, pushing over trees. I couldn't see her, but I could hear and got the message. I climbed up into the Douglas fir trees and swung on the thick branches, and it finally dropped down behind my garden. The fence and trees quaked as she hit the ground. That night, the whole family was on my roof with Dad. When I looked out the back window, I saw the 15-foot tall Dad. He locked eyes with me and started rocking back and forth. I could hear scratching and screws coming undone through the ducting. It sounded like they were trying to get in. I looked back out the window to see the Dad looking me dead in the eyes as the stomping, scratching was getting louder. I looked him in the eyes. I leaned in to let him know if anything happens, he was going to die first. I gave him the coldest killer stare I could. He broke the eye contact and slinked away. The rest of the family followed suit. The forest was quiet. I squashed it. Tension was high. Every night the whole family wanted to see who this human was. I eventually gave each and every one of the Sabe the stink eye, as a show of force. The Sabe went out on a hunt. They came back, stomping past my window. The ground quaked and a few of them marched across my roof. I could hear them dropping off the roof as the rest marched on parade into the forest. I turned my back on them and walked away. The following afternoon around 5 p.m., I was finishing in the garden when I heard a whispered growl in my ear. I turned and saw the male peeking at me in daylight, his Ewok eyes locked with mine, hoping to get a reaction from me. I just looked at him and slowly walked back in the house, as if I was not worried about him at all. As the days went on, I noticed that I turned the light on in one room and sat in a dark room, I could make their eyes shine. I took pictures as much as I could. The older ones caught on, but the young didn't get it right away. So I watched the babies and started taking pics of their little Sabe. I studied how they hunt. They turn their heads extremely slow and methodical, scanning from left to right continuously, casting light from their eyes until the critter reflected back or came into the line of sight. The scout calls the target and the rest move in for the ambush. In fact, whenever people claim they see orbs, they are looking at Sabe eyes casting light. I don't know about that one. I did this every night. The mom caught me trying to get the autofocus to work in my bathroom window. It's a small window, 25 feet off the ground. I figured I was safe there. My wife asked me for something. When I went back into the bathroom, I looked at the window I was just at. There looking at me was Mom with her grapefruit eyeballs. I looked straight into the giant gold reflective lenses. Her pupils had dilated to the full width of her eyeballs. I was no more than 3 feet from her giant flat face. I stared her down and forced her to break eye contact. I saw the wrinkles go up on her forehead. Her head was round on top and she had a very little hair. Her face was extremely flat, but human looking. Her nose was like a smushed button nose. Her skin was black as charcoal. I kept patrolling all the windows after that. I was on high alert. But they were getting wigged out by my activity. She would hang back from my fence in the woods so she could keep an eye on her kids gathering acorns. I, being the Alaska-raised hunter from the woods, could always seek out their eyes. Eventually, after several days of me being overly vigil, she snapped. I caught her gaze and she shook her head and stood up and stomped through the brush. I sat at my desk and listened for her as she crashed her way around. She was breathing and growling like a bear. She climbed through the trees and landed on the small roof by my window. I could hear her breathing a foot away. She didn't make a move. I slowly got up and moved to the hallway. I could hear her following me, impinging through the ceiling. She spread her weight out and spider crawled across the roof hot on me. Then she cooled down and went back into the woods. I slept on a beanbag chair by the window with one eye open. Spooky. The following night I was helping my daughter on the potty. I looked through the sliding glass door at the fence line. The mom slowly revealed her face through the brush and looked me in the eye. She let me know I was on thin ice. She never broke eye contact with me. She simply did a reverse back into the tree line out of sight. I placed a trail camera right where she poked her face out. It was the money shot for sure. I checked the camera in the morning. Nothing. Just me putting it in place and taking it down. It should have gone off. No better shot than that. What the F? I gave up and started recording audio at night. I had much more success. You can hear several heavy sabe stomping around and juveniles giving squelches. I captured the baby whistling for mother. She had retreated into the woods because the sun came up. So I sat there and listened to the haunting whistle of this juvenile as it wandered back into the forest. It was the most enchanting moment of my life. Things have settled down for the most part. We have a routine where she waits for us to start eating dinner. I hear branches shaking. I look over and she gives me a flash to let me know it's her, and I go back to my meal. It's like clockwork now. If I go to the bathroom, I try not to stare too long as they scout in the treetops. They stop hunting to look at me, and it F's with their flow, so I try to stay in my lane. I spotted the two trick-or-treaters heading out, little fist bumping as the book did behind a large group of tweens. They had gotten really fat. The cones had gotten fat as well. I believe they store fat on top of their heads like a camel. All right, this is getting a little, I don't know, man. I saw them casually looking, talking, and walking. The cone was massive, and different parts of the body had stored that fat in crazy ways, but the face was that of a human kid of 8 years old or so. Made me realize they bulk up for winter just like bears do. I talked to an old couple who run an orchard 2 towns over who have had a family of sabe on their land. I noticed when we were parked, after we did a U-pick, I saw that the orchard was well dressed and clean except for a raggedy section with broken limbs and tall grass. I could hear the whoops, so I started asking the strange questions. Rolled her eyes and said, "Don't get me started." She told me that they have been leaving the parks and encroaching on the urban areas. She said it's one thing for local ranchers and farmers dealing with them, given the ample space, but it's just too much for them to creep into parks in such tight quarters. That really sucks. They have to deal with that. She said there are people who know about it and are trying to keep it quiet. But after that shit, I don't need a nanny state telling me what's what. They can't do their job because they're busy fleecing and burning the planet to ashes. No one's coming to save us. It's on us to share. P.S. This isn't Project Bluebeam. This shit is real. Thanks for reading this and sharing. Sincerely, Josh in West Lynn, Oregon. Okay, Josh, you're going to have a shit pile of people questioning your sanity after hearing that story, right? There's no way of getting out of that. That's a lot. That's a lot. If you look back on the patterns of all the people that email in, that's a shit pile, right? It's a lot. Anyways, I'll leave that as a take from what you will or leave it. Email. We'll see if anybody emails in from the general same area. Bulking up and storing fat on their heads. I think you might be way off base with that, if that's what you observe, right? Okay, that's just me though. But normally I just keep my mouth shut, which I should, and I practice for myself, take from it what you will or leave it, right? But that's a lot, my man. That's a lot to take in. And there's not, yeah, I'll keep my mouth shut there. I'm going to leave that one as a take from it what you will or leave it. All right, you guys? And if all that's going down, that is one handful of crazy ass, not too common experiences, right? And it's a pile. One thing about the roof thing, have a lot of people mention hearing these things on the roof. That is a tough one for me. It's not a tough one for me to accept. It's just a tough one for me to make sense of it. I mean, I have been on construction sites for a large part of my life. And picturing, say, 1,000-pound being on 2 feet. Think about the load placement when 1 foot comes off of the roof to take a step. Right? Imagine the creaking you're going to hear. More than likely in southern framing down here, when you don't have to have that extreme framed up building for snow load, that foot's going through that roof. That is going through the roof. Now, a whole troop of them going across the roof, that's a tough one, How does that happen? All right, here we go. Next. I don't know if this is a big, well, okay, I'm going to do it. It's not too long. I'm going in, but I got to get going. Repressed this memory. This is older. Dear Steve, the story's been weighing on me for decades. To be honest, I have, piece by piece, I've remembered details over the last 6 months. I've obviously repressed this memory for close to 35 years. Oh, quick mention. I don't know why sorry. Getting back to yesterday. The kind lady emailed in the faces she saw in the furrowed brow in the video I did of the handheld video that I did that big bull out down the bank in the timber. That was last year. Well, I remembered this morning that. So those elk went this way, away from me. They went down the bank, through the bottom of the timber. And if you go through the timber, straight shot, past that bull, it's an old chunk of logging road there. And that chunk of logging road is probably about 250 yards further straight that way from the camera past the bull. And the wind was going this way. So I hiked back out, went all the way down the logging road, hooked around, and I started hiking in that timber towards them to see if they're hopefully still in the bottom of the timber. Maybe I could sneak up on them, have my cow call. And I got back in there about 400 yards. I didn't bump into them. They took off. But I did hear a noise, and I remember vividly going, uh-oh. I heard a noise that was way off, and I still have that video clip somewhere. And I remember when I came home, I tried to edit that video and grab that sound and amplify it. And for some reason, it was very, very difficult on the editing program. So, but now that somebody's pointed out something staring at me down in that bush, once I get a spare time, I will try to go find that clip and see if I can't recreate it. So now it's all making a little bit of sense to me, because it sure looks like something's looking in that video, right? But I do remember I heard a noise, a vocal noise, while I was slipping along that timber, and I had my camera going, and I vividly went like this. Oh no, not now. I've got that on video from within the hour of me videotaping that elk. Side note. All right, sorry you guys. You know how my brain works. The strongest part of the memory is emotion I had of my parents and our mutual family friends not believing me, but instead believing the lying dirtbag of a so-called friend. Okay, so here we go. I grew up in northern Arizona, hunting, camping, dirt bike riding, exploring. We're all our ways of entertainment as kids. It wasn't uncommon for me to take off on my dirt bike with gear and stay in the desert overnight, returning the following evening. Mind you, this was way before cell phones and pagers. From the first grade, our family had become friends with a family that had 2 kids just a year older than my sister and I. 1 boy, 1 girl. We vacationed every year together to various destinations. We're always at one another's house. We're always at one another's houses. As a young boy, there was serious competition with this other boy I'll call Jay. This was encouraged by our fathers, as I think they had enjoyed the pride of their son beating out the other in whatever event was being played. This being said, that circumstance is relevant to this future event. Okay, so the best of my recollection, I was 10 and Jay was 12. We both had ATCs and would venture out with our 22s or shotguns, hunting birds, rabbits, and the like. On this occasion, Jay took me off in private and asked if I wanted to go see a wild person. I didn't grasp what he was meaning, and even after the prodding, I was unable to extract any more info that made sense. My curiosity was churning. Okay, we read this one. This is the one where they shot. Yeah, this is the one where he shot it. All right. Read it. I feel bad, though, when I do that for the people who didn't hear it previously, right? But then I get shit from the people who have. Can't win. But I 100% read that. All right. What do we got? Here's another one. Hopefully this isn't red. What a pain in the ass. God, it makes me piss that my phone got screwed earlier. 2,500 emails ready to go. Lake City, Florida. Hi, Steve. My name is Paul. I heard you say once you didn't understand why people didn't just put their name. Dude, I most definitely don't care. My name is Paul Booth, and I live in Lake City, Florida. Only ever lived in Florida, and most of it is farther south. This is called North Georgia. Anyway, I've lived in a lot of places. I grew up dirt poor. To hear my stepdad tell it, he was 1 generation from a teepee. I believe him. He taught me to talk without speaking. He said using words was a weakness, so I never stopped believing in my ability to both hear and speak without speaking. I've never seen really much except the miracles God showed me to prove he was real. But anyway, Bigfoot. No, I didn't see him, but I wouldn't have. Looking back, I feel certain some of the other kids did and didn't say anything, but I knew they were there. I would talk to them with my mind, taunting them, daring them to kill me, but they know they aren't allowed. There was a stretch of road that I would walk down that we would always hear someone pacing us. We knew it was a person or on 2 legs. At some point, it got to where no one else would even walk around at night, and definitely not there. You know how kids are. They tell each other something, anything to help your friend get over what happened. I'm telling you, every time I walked down that road, abject terror. Honestly, hearing your stories brought it back. In reflection, I just didn't care. My stepdad had plot on my life so many times by then. I was 13, 14, and 15 when we lived in Crumacoochee, sorry. Cromacoochie. Crumacoochee. Yep, that's the name. I didn't even know if it's up on the map anymore. That was the native name of the place. There were burial mounds all in the woods. There was Lacoochee with Lacoochee. That was also the name of the river. And the Crumacoochee, or Croom as we called it. Croom was known to be a place where a lot of devil worshipping went on. I remember laughing inside when they told me that. When I moved there was about 30 of us that used to explore the woods and sometimes stay out there at night and play a kind of full contact tag or capture the flag. We told ourselves we quit because people kept getting hurt, but that was bullshit. That's why we did it, to get hurt. We would find what looked kind of like campsites. Those tree triangles. We called them teepees. Dude, what can I say? We were white trash in the 80s. Anyway, we used to find those. If you want me to think of some more specific things, I will. I really dig what you do. I'm a religious zealot, so at some point I'll probably try and convince you of my version of the truth. But for now, I just wanted to say, you know that thing about the Zetas, or what the F ever, is from a science fiction book, right? Now I know the new argument is that all the ancient writings are nothing more than science fiction as well, but at least they are ancient. And about the giants, they all agreed. So, thank you for your time. Robert Paul Booth. P.S. For the name thing, I don't give two shits. However, I do have a child, and I have been violently attacked online already in a way that had a serious effect on my... So probably the name answered. Oh, Booth. Ah, shit.